Angelina and I have migrated from central Texas and the approaching heat waves from the Gulf all the way up to the center of Kansas, following cooler air, and we're at Kannapolis Lake. This is a reflection video on pattern recognition. I've noticed in looking back at it that I seem to have given it an unfair review, considering how pervasive pattern recognition is and how fundamental it is to our cognitive biases. I mean, our operating system here basically does everything that it will within 20 watts to find a pattern in order to explain and give meaning to things as fast as possible given a limited set of resources, right? Scarcity of food. What am I saying? I'm saying that it's so easy to fixate on patterns that in looking back, I didn't give it enough attention for the weight or the influence that it has. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it's so easy to find patterns, to fixate on them, to give them meaning, and to let them dominate the story of your life. There's a B-2 bomber flying over. How timely is that? Pattern recognition, right? You see, self-reflection, video modeling. This is an opportunity to test where your patterns of thinking are. So let's try to make some sense out of the complexity of pattern recognition. The way I did that at first was to draw a little matrix, right, between physical and psychological, and then the tiny micro and large macro. And then let's tackle those individually, A, B, C, D. One of the first thoughts I have on physical pattern recognition of things that are small that matter. Recently I heard a conversation between Dr. Berg and a cancer overcomer who was at stage 4 cancer, who focused on understanding the little stuff.
I have a very, very amazing success story I'm going to share with you today, an interview. And the reason that I'm not actually just recording the entire interview because I did 2 interviews, and it's a total of 2 hours. So I'm going to condense this video into a much shorter video, and I want to just break it down into parts because it's quite amazing. Here's a guy who came down with stage 4 cancer, who is now free of cancer. And I want to tell his story. It's quite remarkable. Let's start with this first part, which involves the history leading up to his diagnosis. Before you found out you had cancer, you had diabetes, you had what other type of health problems did you have?
Well, I brought it because it was so many.
Extensive.
Yes, diabetes type 2, high blood pressure, cholesterol, hypertension,
Hypertension.
Yes, pain in the joint and in the bones, inflammation, and psoriasis.
Wow. So you're going along, and you had a weight problem as well, right?
Yes, I was very fat. I had 230 and something pounds.
Wow. And then I think this was in, if I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been in August 2018, you somehow went to the doctor and got a test and found that you had high PSA in your prostate, right?
Yes. Since before that, 2 years, I had trouble. I had pain here. And I went always to the doctor, and the doctor, no, it's nothing. It's inflammation. You have you need to take pills for this. And the urologist told me, okay, yes, we can do nothing. It's too late. Why did you wait so long? And I went to the doctor since 2015, and they never told me I have something. Okay, then I went to see the oncologist, and the oncologist told me, it's too late. We have nothing to do for you. You will disappear soon, 3 months. And he told me I have 6 metastasis in my bones here.
Oh, in your bones in your chest. That's why you had that pain.
Yes, I was thinking it's perhaps my heart, but it was not my heart, it was the bones. After that, I was destroyed, of course.
How did your wife take that?
Like me, terrible. It was the worst week of my life. Right? No chance. I cannot give you anything because you already dead. But don't worry. We have a good medication to treat the pain. I went in the best restaurant. I was with a friend of mine. After I ate a big cake because it was finished. And
right.
And the day after, I came back in USA, and I think it's impossible. I will not accept.
Wow, I like that.
And I have to take, because nobody can do nothing for me. I will do for me myself alone. Then I start to study.
So as you can see in this last part, there was quite a few doctors that were not able to help him. But I want to show you this next part, which I believe is the turning point. It's a point where he basically disagreed with the prognosis and went in a different direction.
Little by little, Walter Longo, William Lee, everybody, I study everybody 18 hours per day during months and months and months, and I continue today. I had to understand what happened, and when I understood, I find the solution, like you said, autophagy. Autophagy, and who spoke about autophagy? Of course, the Nobel Prize, 2016, Thomas Seyfried, and a lot of other people. And I didn't understand why in France nobody speak about that. I did my own research, but when the official medicine told me I will die and I have to follow what they say.
Yeah, that's your prognosis is you're going to die, but you need to follow me and don't look outside the box because they're charlatans. And we can give you some medication to be nice and quiet and comfortable.
Again, your video and Thomas Seyfried videos.
Thomas Seyfried does research on cancer on mice, and you want to be his guinea pig. That's what they call it.
Yes.
And so he's in Boston College, and then so you went up there to see him, and you're like, hey, I'll be your mouse, and let's do some experiments.
Okay, I went to, he told me, sorry, I cannot help you because I'm not a doctor. I told you I don't ask you to help me. I come to help you because I did what you said and it's working. Then I will be the proof that what you are saying is true.
So now I want you to hear about what he actually did. And the most important thing that I think he did was fasting. So check this out.
I fast 45 days, but I was thinking after 20 days, exactly 20 days, I start the January 19. And after 20 days, I was thinking, okay, it's good to fast, but perhaps it's not enough. I will add something.
All right, in this last part, I want you to hear about two very important key takeaways. One is prolonged fasting. Okay, he fasted for 45 days. And number two, which is very, very important, he took nutrition along the way, which is very, very key to not only prevent problems, but to take certain herbs in a concentrated way to increase the killing power of the cancer cell. Check it out.
Wow, this is just a very interesting compounding factor of adding the power of fasting with the power of anti-cancer nutrients that have a direct effect on your immune system. That, you know, why wouldn't you want to do that? Sometimes, you know, people say, well, that won't work because we've done a test on it, and then you find out the test they did was with some synthetic antioxidant. It was nothing to do with an herbal type thing. So I think the power of compounding 2 or 3 things at once is very important, while you also made a decision that you're like, you know what, that's it. I'm gonna fight this thing. I'm not gonna go down this easy, because no one wants to go through what you went through with the fear and the you know, threatened survival situation. So thank you so much for coming on and speaking.
I return the thank you because, you know, I become a US citizen 2 years ago, and I would like to give something to my new country. It's what I did to save American lives. 650,000 people die each year from cancer. And I'm sure we can save a lot of them only to give them the reality. Cancer is a metabolic disease, very simple and very easy to fight, not with chemicals and things. Give your body what it needs, that's it. Then I need your help. I need your help to give to the media, to maximum. The people need to hear me. You translate better than me because my English is catastrophic. But thanks again, and I hope you will help. I'm sure you will help to save a lot of people.
Absolutely. So if you're watching, definitely share this video with your friends and family members to get this word out. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
The point of pattern recognition for Guy was to understand that his body wants to generate health, and that if he provided it with the raw materials that it needed, it would perform for him. In other words, fasting became his way of healing. For example, B, in the physical world, but macro, large scale, think about patterns that are unrecognizable and yet often labeled as crazy talk, conspiracy, couldn't possibly happen. So here's a bit of an introduction from Roman on election meddling.
Good evening. This right here is the democratic voting process. Citizens go to the polls and then they vote for the people that they want to represent them within the government. It's one of the cornerstones of our constitutional republican system. In fact, from a certain perspective, you can say that this was the real contribution that America made to the entire world. However, it appears that the sanctity of this process is under a bit of an assault. That's because, according to the election watchdog group that was featured in the new film called 2,000 Mules, they found that different left-wing foundations, as well as different NGOs, they made very, you can say, creative use of the ballot drop boxes that were deployed during the 2020 election. Specifically, as was shown in that film, the organization called True the Vote, which is the election watchdog group, they used cell phone tracking data. They used surveillance footage, as well as interviews with the actual ballot mules themselves in the different states in order to map out what at least appears to be an illegal ballot harvesting scheme that played itself out across multiple states. And after seeing the film, after seeing the surveillance footage, and after seeing the geolocation data on a map, well, many people across the entire country have been asking what the next steps are in order to ban this practice, as well as how to hold people accountable. And the answer is frankly rather simple. Now that all the data has been collected, True the Vote is going around and they are giving presentations to the different state legislatures in order to have them launch their own investigations. Because at the end of the day, it's the individual states that have their own police forces and their own election offices, and only they have the power to issue subpoenas as well as to launch criminal inquiries.
I think if your aim in pattern recognition is for understanding, to gain insight, then your exposure to lots of little tiny things on a small scale and a big scale can help you fix your attention on taking the right action, either fasting or fixing things, you see? So now, let's have a look at the psychological, starting with the small. 2 years ago, I couldn't have imagined the psychological tests that you and I and everyone in the world would have gone through. Isolation, pressures, unknowns, mandates, loss of all sorts. And through that, we have learned, hopefully, a lot of takeaways. I know for myself, driving across Oklahoma and into Kansas, I saw external evidence in abundance of the consequences of the challenges having been put on both the economy and on small business owners. And it's very easy to begin fixating, to have your mind see, by recognizing those patterns of failure, of risk, of vulnerability, and therefore to start thinking that way. This is Midway Station, kind of the middle of Oklahoma. And I'm thinking about the relationship between ambition and anticipation, right? When you look forward to something and then struggle to make it happen. I'm thinking that if you don't have a good focus or a support for your successes, that it's very easy to be included with disappointment and bad outcomes. I once asked some of the leaders at Ashoka, who mentors the mentors? Who guides the guides? Who supports those that are giving and supporting others? They looked at me kind of strange. I was fortunate to learn from Bob Moad and to gain access to 1,000 quotes. So for decades, I was able to focus on thoughts that were not natural in my environment, not the way that I was brought up. And so I could learn to focus on thinking good thoughts with ambition, looking forward to things happening. So looking back as a reflection of pattern recognition, boy, there's a big lesson I didn't include. Make it a discipline to surround yourself with thinking in the direction you want to go, and not just accept those things you were handed. Which leads to the fourth point, psychological large-scale thinking. What I mean by that is to understand, again, there are 4 basic ideas to all of the cognitive biases that make you vulnerable. Things are chaotic. We want to make sense and meaning of the patterns, and using the scarce resources and the time available, we jump to conclusions. Pattern recognition is at least a quarter, if not more. And here's sort of the trick. I mean, our operating system here basically does everything that it will within 20 watts to find a pattern in order to explain and give meaning to things as fast as possible, given a limited set of resources. Yesterday was my birthday, and we had just gotten here. And as I was going to sleep, the trailer wiggled, right? Arnie wiggled a bit, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't think I put the foot down, and we're on a bit of a slope. So the stabilizing feet were not down, and I knew the wind was going to blow, and I went, ah. And so I went outside after dark and started putting those down. And when I was finished, I looked up and went, holy cow, what is going on? And as it turns out, there was a full lunar eclipse. So my storytelling was, oh wow, Daniel's oversight, my screw up, led me to actually see something that was a great gift and a memory that I'll have for my 67th birthday. You see, on my 65th birthday, we were at Park City and I got to go up on the glaciers and the snow. On my 67th, I got another gift. Angelina calls it Himi Papa Shimpf, right? The little girl in the back seat, and there's lightning flashing all around, and she's all excited because God's taking pictures with flashbulbs of her. Yeah, God delivered me a blood red moon, full lunar eclipse on my birthday. Those are the kind of thoughts that I would encourage you. Choose the patterns you want to recognize by fully immersing yourself in that choice. Make the extra effort to surround yourself with the kind of people you want to become, and with the molecules you want to empower your cells with, both macro and micro, in the physical and in the psychological. And so that's a reflection of things that I wish I had included maybe earlier on, but in my brevity, raced on toward the end of the book. In any case, well done on getting your butt out of SCOTOMAVILLE. And as a final thought, 21 days, and this should be about week 3 or so for you. 21 days was one of the most difficult psychological days on all my 3 transams, and I know that many people in shooting their videos get to about 3 weeks of doing it and go, yeah, okay, I'm familiar, it's common. Enough. Don't quit. Keep going. You're going to have a library, a corpus that you want to look back on and be able to see the transformation. And so this just becomes a little bit of a slowdown and a mental hurdle of telling yourself why you want to keep going. So I'm telling you, keep going. You're going to want a very full and robust story about your personal Everest. See you next time.